Guess
Is
what?
it Friday?
It's Friday, Friday. Gotta get down on Friday. Welcome on into Let's Bet It. Lauren Jabbar here with Jared Smith. So much to break down today. You want to know why I'm pumped up right now, Jared? You want to know?
Bowl
Because it's the
games?
first day of bowl games, and I am so excited for it. But you know what? Yesterday's game didn't necessarily go how I thought it would go. That's okay. Congratulations on you for winning your bet, your best bet of the day, if you will. Just break down that game for me. What did you see? Because it was wild.
The first half was, I don't want to call it a snooze fest, but comparatively speaking to the second half and overtime, the first half was kind of a snooze fest. Nice pit on your Herbert prop. I wasn't on the show yesterday, but I did peep the rundown, and I peeped some plops that my girl LJ was able to cash. Love the good plops. But it was a game that I expected. Justin Herbert was fantastic. Patrick Mahomes, he didn't have his best night in terms of the optics. He had a bad throw on fourth down, had an interception, had a few, lapses, mental lapses. We've seen Mahomes be kind of, Jekyll and Hyde this year, but he still threw for 400 yards and 3 touchdowns. So, he still had a pretty good game. The Chiefs are really good. I think they missed Chris Jones a lot. The Chargers were able to run the ball very effectively. That's why they were able to kind of, inch their nose out in front. But Kansas City's a tough team. They're a team that knows how to win these tight playoff-like games. Last night felt like a playoff game. Mm-hmm. Kansas City now has the inside track for the 1 seed. I expect them to get the 1 seed, and they are going to be, I think, the Super Bowl favorite or right next to the Bucs as the Super Bowl favorite heading into this week and likely heading into the postseason.
What a turnaround Kansas City has had since the beginning of the season. Remember when everyone was freaking out when they were 2-4 and everyone's like, oh my God, Kansas City, they're not the same team. Patrick Mahomes isn't the same Patrick Mahomes. This team stinks. And then they flip the script, turn it around and win, 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 win. All they do is win. I'm in a singing mood today.
You are. You're in a festive mood. I wonder if you have the night off or something. You're looking forward to something.
Awesome. Yeah, seriously though. All right, let's talk about today. 1, betting the bowls. 2 bowl games today that we want to break down. One of them in the Bahamas. I don't know if they have luau's in the Bahamas, but you know what?
They do not. That's the wrong side of the country. That's on the West Coast.
Okay.
But they do have Bahama breezes, which we'll talk about later.
Breezes. I do enjoy a good Bahama breeze every now and again. We have NFL Week 15 with our friend Howard Bender. We're having him on the show today. We have NBA Radar. Jared's Kick Picks, kinda. We'll break it down what's going on across the pond, and then we can't end without our Pickswise play of the day and our best bets of the day. So without further ado, guys, let's get it. Let's bet it. Betting the Bulls. First taste of bowl game action today. Could there be a better way to start, Jared, than a noon kick in the beautiful Bahamas versus Toledo in Middle Tennessee? What are you expecting from this game?
Noon on a Friday. Nothing says bowl season like the Bahamas at noon on a Friday, right? No, this is a game that obviously, if you're overanalyzing this game, if you're spending more than a short period of time looking at this game, I think you're better allocating your time elsewhere. But there are a few things to keep in mind with this game. First of all, I think Middle Tennessee State is a little bit overmatched. You're seeing that on the point spread. You saw this thing open around 7.5. Now it's kind of up to double digits. Tough to lay double digits in a bowl game, but I do think there's a pretty big talent gap here. I think Toledo's the better team, and I think they'll win the game. Will they cover the spread? I would say that's a stay away for me. The total has been interesting. The total is one of those weird, you have to analyze yourself as a meteorologist type of totals. Now, it opened 53, down to 49. I saw it touch 49 last night, and that's where the sharp stepped in and bought it back up. Now I'm seeing 49.5 across the board. The reason why it dropped is not because of player movements, which is opt-outs is usually why we see totals drop, but it's because of weather, which doesn't really make much sense. It's the Bahamas. What kind of weather could they be having? Wind. I don't know what kind of wind it's going to be. I've been in the Bahamas personally in December a few years ago. The winds are not like the winds in Buffalo.
In the Bahamas is the exact same, Jared.
Everything's the same. But my point is, it's not like a 20-mile-an-hour crosswind at Buffalo like we saw the other night when it was freezing cold and these guys were miserable to be outside. It's still 70 degrees, and I'm calling it a Bahama breeze.
No, it's a Bahama blow. That's a Bahama blow because that is more than a breeze. A breeze is like a gentle 5 to 7 miles an hour. 15 to 20 mile an hour winds is not a breeze, it's a blow. You know what I mean?
It's true. So you like the under here. I get it. I understand it. And we're putting out a column on Pickswise.com today about betting tips and strategies. And one of the very veteran odds makers that I trust very much, one of his big pieces of advice was don't necessarily trust all the odds movements. And usually I'm Mr. Line Movement, but I think in the bowl games it can be a little overblown. If you want to go about from blows to breezes. But I think. Really low total, especially in a bowl game. So under 50, I would not play this under. I would actually say the over has more value, but I understand if you're hesitant about the wind. Another option is to watch the first few snaps, the first drive or so, make a decision, and then hop in live, see how much the wind is having an impact. But if I had to bet, and right now it's 10, just after 10 a.m. here on the East Coast, 2 hours away from the game, I would say the wind won't have as big of an impact as the total line move indicates, which is 4 full points, which is a pretty big move.
Yeah, for me, the wind isn't necessarily why I was choosing the under. I think it's more the talent scale. I think Toledo's going to dominate on defense and they're going to control the clock on offense. I think they're going to have heavy run drives. So that was kind of why I was leaning towards the under. The Bahama Blow, 15, 20 an hour winds.
The Bahama Blow.
Doesn't sound great, but
no, it really doesn't.
That's just an adding factor for me on top of it. But you look at what Middle Tennessee has done this season. They needed a win in their last game of the regular season to become bowl eligible, but they did it by knocking off Florida Atlantic. They finished the season 6-6. And Toledo, you look at their season, they've kind of had less than expected of a season. I think they were expected to be one of the top teams in the MAC, right? But they have a 7-5 record, originally favored to win the MAC. 4 of their final 5, they won, finishing strong, but they were 0-4 in one possession game. So I think they're going to want to come out here and just absolutely blow out Middle Tennessee. That's I know. Can I use the word blow enough times in this?
We can try. Overblown, Bahama blow, blowout.
I know.
Blow in.
Yeah, I do have a fun stat though. 6-win teams are kind of bettors in bowl games against teams that finished above 500. Okay, 6-win teams have gone 68. 48-2 against the spread in bowls since 2005 against winning teams. As underdogs, 45-25-1 against the spread, covering by just a field goal per game. So fun fact, if you're kind of thinking like maybe, Middle Tennessee can keep this one close and cover, I'm still taking Toledo laying the points and the under in this game. Those are my 2 bets. I already have them locked in. But fun stat for people, except for stats are kind of for losers.
Yeah, this is the stats for losers, girls. Now
winners out every stat. I'm picking. Stats are for winners if they back my bets. Stats are for losers if they're going against my bets. But yeah, I thought that was really interesting. 48-2 against the spread, 6-win teams against teams that are over 500.
Here's why I like that stat.
Why?
Because in my eyes, bowl games, the first thing that matters is motivation. Yeah. And if you were going to ask me, is a team that is 6-6 more motivated to finish the year above 500 than a team 7-5 that if they lose, they'll still be above 500? Yes, I would say a smart coach, would use that as a motivational tool. Hey, you're a 500 team. We don't want to have a sub 500 season. We want to finish the year above. So I think a lot of these games, especially early on in bowl season, they're not playing for any championships. They're not even playing in a prestigious game. They get to go to the Bahamas, which is pretty cool, which can sometimes be a distraction for certain teams. But the motivation angles, in my eyes, in these games are absolutely vital.
Yeah. Speaking of motivation, one of your teams you've loved all season playing in the Tail Greeter Cure Bowl. Say that 5 times fast. No. Northern Illinois taking on Coastal Carolina. You've loved Coastal Carolina all season. What do you think about them in this one?
The chance. Do you want to do a cock-a-doodle-doo?
I'll let you take the reins on this one.
I love this Coastal offense. Obviously, they've got a much better offense than Northern Illinois. Yeah. They've got one of the best offenses in the country. But let's talk about the motivation here. So Coastal was in this game last year. It was their first ever bowl game. The whole program, first time ever going to a bowl game. They lost by a field goal to Liberty. Tough result. Now they're going back to the Cure Bowl for a second straight year. And it's Grayson McCall. I believe it's his last game as a collegiate player. And you would imagine they're going to be highly motivated to win the program's first ever bowl game. The spread's 10.5. So that means we have to really look hard on NIU and find out if they're motivated at all. Well, the Huskies just went to Detroit a couple weeks ago and won in crazy upset fashion in the MAC championship game over Kent State. The MAC champion gets to go to Florida to play in the Cure Bowl. The MAC runner-up has to go to Idaho to play in the Potato Bowl. I think the Potato Bowl. I have some potato bowls in my fridge I'll probably be having later for lunch. But the Potato Bowl, in my eyes, is not as prestigious as getting to go to sunny Florida and play a bowl game in the Cure Bowl. I think this game's in Orlando. So to me, that's a motivational edge for Coastal, where NIU is just kind of happy to be in the game. They weren't expected to win the MAC championship. It's the head coach's first ever bowl game. That's a big red flag for me, too. And I just think Coastal's offense. I
think he was in one as an assistant coach for Wisconsin back in 2013.
Oh, wow.
I have that written in my notes. I went deep diving yesterday, Jared. I was deep diving. I'm like you on these games.
That's a great nugget. But he's never been a head coach in a bowl game.
Yeah, he's never
been a little different. Little different. Yeah. And I think in general, I favor a team that I know this Coastal team is going to be motivated to win this game. The program's never won a bowl game in their history. So I think this is a huge motivational edge. And if you throw in the fact that Coastal's offense is the second best offense in the country, yards per play, behind Ohio State, I think NIU is going to struggle to stop Coastal in this game.
Yeah. And you look at what Coastal Carolina was able to do. They were 5 points away from being undefeated on the season. I think they lost a game by like a safety. They lost like 3 games by 1 point or something like that. I'd have to go back and look at some of their games, but they were 5 points away from having a completely undefeated season. So I think that that's going to be a little bit of a motivating factor for them too, because they're like, look, we were this close to having a big goose egg in that losing column. We were so close to doing it. Why not come out here and show people, what we're made of and what we've been doing all season long, because they've had such a great season this year. I think Northern Illinois is going to try to slow down the pace. I think Coastal Carolina is just going to be too much for them to handle. I have CC laying 10.5 in this one. I'm on your side. Cock-a-doodle-doo. That was
a lame cock. That was so lame.
My voice was cracked. That was honestly embarrassing. Should I do it one more time?
I think you should do. What do you do? The little. There you go. That was a little bit.
I sound like a dying something.
Yeah, you sound like one of those quails that gets, like Duck Hunt when you shoot the quails in the game. You never played Duck Hunt before?
Oh my God. No,
Love
I've never actually played Duck Hunt before.
It was like, yeah.
I'll try to check it out next time.
How can how can you be in my age group and have never played Duck Hunt?
I don't know. What is Duck Hunt?
Duck Hunt is like the game of all games back in like the Nintendo days.
Rock?
Yes, clearly.
Okay.
We'll ask Howard if he's played Duck Hunt in his past.
Yeah. Speaking of, let's transition over to NFL, going from college football to NFL, bringing Howard Bender, fantasy and betting analyst for Fantasy Alarm and host of the Fantasy Alarm radio show every day, a day at 6 p.m. Eastern on Sirius XM. He's very intelligent when it comes to all of his football picks. Howard, how are you doing today? Have you ever played Duck Hunt before, Jared?
I have played Duck Hunt before, actually. Because I'm a boy who grew up in the 80s. I mean, that's really what it was. But
you might be a little too young, Lauren.
I heard the calls. Can I do my duck call for you guys?
Yeah,
you guys actually really like this.
Honestly, it wouldn't be a
if
show
you have
without
one.
you doing that. It wouldn't be a show without you doing that.
All right, are you ready?
Let's do it.
I don't know if we're ready. To be honest.
I might need.
Yeah, make sure stay hydrated.
Get properly hydrated. All right, here it goes.
Okay.
Hey, Duck. Thank you very much.
Lauren is gonna lose it. She's gonna absolutely lose it.
I'm playing the room all evening.
Something like life changing.
Absolutely lose it.
That wasn't life changing.
No, for Lauren it was. She's ready. See what happened. Look at you. Lauren was like, my jokes have gone stale on Lauren after 3 months. We need some fresh material. So thank you for providing that, Howard.
Howard, we appreciate it. Thanks so much for taking the time to be on the show. I know Jared was on your show last night, and you guys had a little bit of an argument. You want to tell me what that was?
Well, I don't necessarily know if it was an argument, but anytime somebody comes onto the show and sides with the Cowboys on a betting side, right? I mean, I have to take issue with it. Jim Bowden is a diehard Cowboys fan. It's very difficult for him to take his hat off. And the debate was teams that are on their third straight road game actually only cover the spread or win the game outright about 30 to 35% of the time. So, it was the question of, does Dallas lose this game? Not lose the game, but do they not cover the spread? Or does the Mike Glennon-led New York Football Giants just go in the tank here, which they're down 11 right now?
Yeah. I think it's the Mike Glennon factor that's the decider for me. That, like, to me, there's like a level of hierarchy when it comes to trends. Mike Glennon is like the king of them. Like, if you're starting a game with Mike Glennon as your quarterback, I don't think there's any other trend that can save you.
Yeah. I have a question for you, Howard. So, like, people ask what came first, the chicken or the egg? For you, what came first, the fantasy sports or the sports betting? And how do you kind of intertwine them both in your analysis?
They actually they kind of arrived at the same time, roughly the same time.
Yeah.
So my father was in construction for, in New York for 25, 30 years. And so he used to bring home the betting slips, right? And so he used to let my brother and I fill those out, and we started playing around with those. And then I had another friend whose dad was into fantasy baseball, and he got me roped into the league there. So the two of them sort of converged on the same front there. So I think it's actually kind of helped me, like the fantasy knowledge and diving in deeper has allowed me to be a better bettor, I think, evaluate the lines better. But there are some times where the streams do cross and you don't want them to, because sometimes you just take a look at a line and you're like, man, everything I know about these teams, everything I know about this game kind of goes out the window, because you look at the line and it's like super fishy, like Tennessee against Pittsburgh right now, right? If everybody's all in on Tennessee and Tennessee's going to the playoffs, right? And we just watched Pittsburgh get gashed by Minnesota's run offense, right? Dalvin Cook, the line just ripping open these giant holes you could drive a boat through, right? So why is it only a 1-point game?
Yeah. Like motivation, right? Motivation's a big one for the Steelers in that one. Don't they have to win to stay in the playoff picture?
They do. So give me the Steelers there with the point as the dog. I mean, it's stuff like that happens where you just kind of have to throw some analysis out the window.
Yeah. Howard, player props too. Obviously, to me, that's always been the biggest crossover between gambling and fantasy. And I think there's a lot of ways that you can take what the fantasy experts talk about and apply that knowledge to how we kind of, handicap lines and handicap props in the NFL markets as well. What are some of the crossovers for you, and how do you kind of marry those two worlds together?
I do take a look, like I do that with daily fantasy sports, with DFS. I'll take a look at the props for a number of players. I'll do all my research. I'll look at all the matchups. I'll put together the playbook over at DFS Alarm, and I'll get everything set and squared away. And then when I start kind of building my lineups, then I'll take a look at what Vegas is saying about, rushing yards, receiving yards, and kind of go from there. You look at the money lines on the each side, and that kind of helps guide you towards it. If you're just looking at a regular prop and it's minus 110, well, it could go either way. But if all of a sudden, you're looking at like minus 140 juice on a prop, you're like, oh, okay, so this might be the tiebreaker to pick this running back over the other.
It's crazy this year because I feel like we have to deal with so many COVID issues, especially when it comes to betting some of these games. And you look at COVID in the COVID's everywhere right now, but you look at COVID in the NFL. Rams, 25 players on the list. Browns, 21. Washington, 21. All three games are still scheduled to be played. Do you stay away from games like that because you don't really know? It's kind of an uncertainty, or do you kind of go on in there and I'm like, well, let's just try it out anyways?
I'll look at that, at how deep the line is moving. Like, you look at the Cleveland line against the Raiders, and it's gone from Raiders -1 to -3.5 only. I mean, you're losing a ton of the offensive line. You've lost Baker Mayfield. You've lost Case Keenum. But, how come that line's not getting any deeper? You look at the Eagles line against the Washington football team, and that's at like -10 right now. And I think that game opened at -2.5. It went to -7. Now it's sitting at -10.
It's crazy.
Yeah. So, that's a game where I'll probably avoid and walk away. But I think I have just a better bead on looking at a game that the line really hasn't dipped that much. I think it's the Nick Chubb factor, not to mention the fact you take Baker Mayfield out of any game And that's giving that team another advantage right there. That's addition by subtraction.
Wow. Yeah. Hot take on Baker. I'll be honest, I do kind of like Cleveland catching 4. Right. I think that's the way that I would play that one. I agree too. I would probably stay away.
You can't be nice to me now, Jared.
I can be nice. I can be nice. All right, ready? I can be really mean and compare you to Urban Meyer and say that your coaching style is or your broadcasting style is like Urban Meyer's coaching style, right? No, I think the Urban Meyer situation, it's like a turd. We had to just flush it and move on from it. And we did.
You use that once a week.
I do use the Jalen Hurts turd, flush it, don't look at it analogy. I think that was one of my favorite. Post-game press conference moments of the year in the NFL. But the Urban Meyer situation is very negative. We saw it impact the Jaguars in a positive way on the point spread after the news broke yesterday, which is not bizarre. It's happened before. Hugh Jackson got fired from the Browns a couple years ago, and the line moved in Cleveland's favor in that game. Yeah. So we've seen it happen before. But last year, teams went 3-0 straight up and against the spread. All 3 times a team fired their head coach. It was the Lions, it was the Falcons, and it was the Texans. The next week, they won and covered. So is that going to happen this week with the Jaguars taking on the Texans? They're laying 4 points. It's almost 5 now.
I'm in on it, right? I mean, teams that fire their head coach mid-season, it's like, they're covering or winning outright like a little more than 60% of the time right now. So, I mean, listen, this one is an easy layup for me, I think. Darrell Bevell is he's a very much a run-first guy. He was like that in Detroit. He was like that in Seattle. The whole James Robinson saga that's going on. And so now you're looking at Houston, who, has the worst run defense, according to DVOA. They've given up the most second most rushing touchdowns. My Jets have given up the most. Thank you very much.
Our Jets.
Both of your Jets. Yeah,
our Jets.
I'm a Lions fan. So you know what? We're all just absolutely crapping.
And people are taking betting advice from the 3 of us right now?
No idea. What are they thinking?
Fandom doesn't relate to good betting knowledge, okay?
It's like your family. You can't choose your family, but you can choose what teams you bet on.
We should probably just go back to Duck Hunt right now, right? We start talking the Atari 2600. But no, listen, I think that this game script is it falls in Jacksonville's favor, and I do think that I'll take Jacksonville. I will happily lay the points. The Texans are a hot mess right now also. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, like, this game had zero interest for me.
It has interest now.
You fire Urban Meyer, sold.
Agreed.
Yeah. I want to take it to the NFC North for a second. Vikings taking on the Bears. I see you like the Bears in this one, even though the Vikings have to win. This is a big game for them to be able to stay in playoff contention as well. Why are you favoring the Bears? I just like saying that.
Everybody likes saying that, right? That's why I've put on so much weight, because I'm hoping that Saturday Night Live brings that skit back. And they just invite me.
I'll be next to you. Super fans. Let's go.
Monday night home dogs have been covering like crazy this year, and they've done it before in the past as well. It's a trend that I always seem to kind of hop onto over the last, I'd say probably like 5-6 years now that I've been playing in the Westgate and doing the Ultimate Football Challenge at the Nugget and all of that, and just Monday night home dogs seem to do it. Yeah. Now, I was locked on the Bears, and then all of a sudden everybody got COVID over there as well. So I'm gonna have to rethink that, just because once Bill Lazor left and went on the COVID list and the players started to go, it got a little bit trepidatious, should we say? I mean, if I'm going to make any picks and I want to pick a Saturday game for one of those contests, I have to commit to the Monday game, and who the heck knows what's going to go on with COVID over the next 2 days there.
Very, very difficult to sift through that right now, Howard. I think that's the hardest thing, because, we do a lot of these shows very far in advance of when the games take place. And on the content side,
NBA, NHL,
it's tough.
You looked at the Avs last night, and they had 4 guys going to COVID protocols an hour before their game was set to
it's really hard. And I think that's a good place to kind of lead the conversation. What is your best piece of advice at this stage of this COVID spike? Because everything that we deal with is player dependent. And right now we cannot depend on any of these players.
No, we can't. And I would, in my opinion here, If I'm going to lay any kind of action down on any of these games, I'm doing it about an hour before the game, like let the line lock and then kind of figure it out from there, because I really don't want to get hit with, one of those last minute situations where all of a sudden, you're like, yeah, I'm totally betting the Packers this week. And Aaron Rodgers is like, I got the COVID again. Right. I mean, nobody needs that to deal with that. So really, if you are going to bet, then be sure to, just kind of wait on the line and just make sure that that all the players who are being affected are affected. And if you're doing a pool, like an office pool or something like that, what you really need to do, because those lines usually lock earlier in the week. All right, go and look for where the value is going to be.
Yes.
Like if you're going to sit there and you're going to say, okay, my pool locked and it was Raiders -1 and now it's Raiders -3.5. You might want to take the Raiders because you're only laying a point. So, do yourself a favor and just kind of go through all the spreads and look for where the most movement has to help you with that. But for just straight up betting, I would probably just kind of linger until about an hour before each game.
I have one more question for you, Howard. I almost said Harold. I don't know why I just said that. Howard. Oh my God. I have one more question for you about the Patriots, because I am riding high on them right now. The only thing that's been able to stop them the last 2 months has been their bye week. Okay. 7 wins. They've covered in every single one of those games. Are they the real deal this season? Because I think they are.
I hate this question.
Sorry.
Talking to a Jets fan here. You can't go. Know your audience.
You can't go against Belichick. I will. I do. I like the Colts -2.5 in this one here.
You do?
I do. I actually
Me
really
too,
do.
Actually, I'm against you too on this one, LJ.
Yeah.
I like the Colts.
Come on, guys.
Colts in this one. This is going to be an interesting one. But I mean, listen, I can't deny what the Patriots bring to the table. Like I'm not going to get on board and say that Mac Jones is the best quarterback out of this rookie class, because you take anybody, you take Zach Wilson, you take Justin Fields.
Maybe not Zach Wilson.
Maybe. But you put those guys with Belichick in that scheme, and you understand what's going on there. It's definitely an advantageous thing. The defense is rock solid. So, I think, it's not like they're like blowing teams out. They're not sitting there racking up 30, 40 points a game here. They're doing it with the defense, and they're doing it with just smart football.
Smoke and mirrors. I think a good team is going to smash it right down their throat. And they'll at some point, they will show why their win total, I think, was 8.5 preseason. And they've already gone over that win total. So, it's been an impressive year. But I think I think the smart money is telling you this. But then again, the smart money doesn't mean anything this year. But the way that this line's moved, it definitely indicates the Colts are the sharper side. But we'll see if that matters tomorrow.
Yeah, we'll see. Howard, thank you so much for coming on. We really appreciate it. Howard Bender to Fantasy.
Great job, bud.
For Fantasy Alarm. Make sure to tune into a show every single day, 6 p.m. Eastern Time, Sirius XM. Howard, thank you so much. We'll definitely have you on again. Really appreciate the time.
Thanks for having me. I'll do a little bit better the jokes than the duck call.
No, you were fine. Right? You did that was like a triple snort from Lauren. That's never happened before. So
then like George Costanza, I'll leave on a high note.
We'll work on that duck calling noise. We'll have you back on to test it out.
Right.
Okay.
Oh man.
Thank you so much.
That was great. Good job, Howard. Great stuff, bud.
Oh man, it's so good. He's the best. Okay, let's take it to the court for a second. NBA radar. I know you always like to look at some of the line movements, etc.
Yeah.
We talked about COVID in the NFL. COVID is running rampant right now in the NBA and NHL as well. So let's go over some of the movement in the market for Friday's games. Have you seen any substantial movement in any of the games?
Yeah, I really have. And I'll be honest, it's 10:30 in the morning. You're crazy if you even wager one dime on any of these games right now.
Yeah.
So anything that we're saying is just keep an eye on it. We're not giving out any picks.
Yeah.
We're not telling you that this is going to move in this direction. I think the NBA life cycle is like a 3-hour stretch where you really should not start betting these games until maybe 2 to 3 hours before the game.
I would say even like 90 minutes before.
Like once they start to leak out the rosters and the lineups, I think you might sacrifice a little bit of CLV. You might have to pay for that information by a half a point or a point on the line. But the NBA, there's so many points in an NBA game. A point, it's worth it to wait to see if that player that's so vital is going to be in that game. The one game that I will point out to you tonight that is looking like that steamy game of the night is the Lakers and the T-Wolves. This is a late night game. And it looks like Minnesota is the sharp side here.
Yeah, I mean, COVID has wiped out half of the Lakers roster at this point.
And I'll be honest, the rest of the Lakers roster, at least the part that I watched the other night in that game against the Mavs, was not good. Anthony Davis, remember that scene in Space Jams where the Monstars came in and stole all the players' talent? That's what Anthony Davis looks like. I mean, this guy, and don't get me wrong, he is a fantastic talent, but the Anthony Davis that I saw on the court the other night does not look like the Anthony Davis that I saw win the NBA title a couple years ago and, win the college basketball championship with Kentucky and all those great, early years that he had in his career. He looks like a different player. I don't know what's going on. I don't know if it's between the ears or if it's something else, but the Lakers can't win without AD. Let's just leave it at that. I know LeBron's the man, but AD is also the man, and he doesn't look great. And LeBron's going to, have his ups and downs. He'll miss some games for load management, but the Lakers just don't look that good. Like they look like a very below average team. And obviously the line movement tonight telling you Minnesota is the right side here. We'll see what kind of player movements we hear before the game, but I wouldn't bet the Lakers tonight. This is either T-Wolves or Pass, but I would wait.
Yeah, this is a messy game. It's tough to predict. Neither team is good against the spread. If you look at some of their stats, they're wildly inconsistent. I think for me, until the final injury report comes out, it's just too difficult to predict where the line's going to be, who's going to be playing. I think for me, if you're looking at this game, the focus for me would be on point total. I'm not betting this game right now, but if I were, point total would be where I would be looking. The over looks good. As long as it's around 215, 220, anything higher, I think is going to scare me off. But you might get good value there because Lakers are without so many players for the point total for a game like this. So yeah, I like that. Any other games that you're seeing big line movement or?
To be honest with you, not really. I saw a little bit of an uptick in the total in Charlotte and Portland, 227 to 230. Portland, no CJ McCollum, we'll see what the defensive mindset is in that game. Charlotte's played at a pretty high pace this year. Yeah. Miami and Orlando, we saw the Heat game, the Heat line move from 3.5 to 7. And that's a big move too. You would guess that someone's out for Orlando. But besides that, I saw a little bit of a dip in the Memphis-Sacramento total, 225.5 to 221. So that would be an underlook. But I'll be honest, I think at this stage of the morning, unless you have a really strong conviction or unless you really are sure that everyone in that lineup is going to play, betting the NBA before game time is probably something I won't be doing for a while. Because I just don't think there's enough information. I just think there's too much volatility. And these games are tough to pick to begin with.
And then you throw COVID in there. There's too much volatility as it is. Then you throw
to begin with. Exactly. The NBA is the toughest sport to bet on, in my opinion, because there's the most amount of points that you have to account for. There's 230 points, 220 points in an average NBA total that you have to account for in your handicap, unlike a soccer match with 3 goals or a hockey game with 5 or 6 goals, or even an NFL game with 40 to 50 points. So there's a lot of you have to handicap a lot with an NBA game. And I think right now, because of the COVID situation, I think that's the sport that, in my opinion, is being affected the most because we've seen one player like a LeBron can have so much impact on a team. Whereas in the NFL, we've seen backup quarterbacks come in and cover the spread and look pretty good and win the game. So I think the NBA of all of the sports might be the toughest to handicap because of this COVID spike right now.
Yeah. Speaking of soccer, let's take it across the pond because we were going to have your kick picks for tonight. But the EPL, we don't really know what's going on. Tell us a little bit more about that.
I'm sorry. I know every day I'm blown away by how many people love the soccer picks every day. And trust me, nothing makes me happier than making Pickswise Nation happy. But I'm looking at tomorrow's slate, and there's supposed to be 6 matches. 4 of them are already postponed. So, I don't want to give out picks. Leeds, Arsenal, Aston Villa, Burnley are the 2 matches that are expected to be played. But again, it's 24 hours before the match. So it's really tough for me to say who's going to be in the lineup. Yesterday, I loved Chelsea. Then all of a sudden, Havertz, Lukaku, and Werner are out an hour before the match. My pick is might as well throw in the trash. So it's as much as I want to give out you guys picks, I want to make sure we're being prudent about the information we're giving out because right now, I'm hearing that they might cancel all the matches and just shut things down for 3 weeks and let things settle down and they'll pick it up after the new year. And if that's the case, obviously that would suck. But that's, I think, the best way to get all this under control and not screw up the TV rights and everything else going on. So it's a mess right now. Not only here in the States, it's a mess overseas. So unfortunately, kick picks are on hold for the time being.
Yeah, crazy stuff going on right now. So let's get into our best bets of the day and the Pickswise 3-star play of the day. Give out some bets, get team of games that are actually being played tonight right now. Pickswise 3-star play of the day, Jared. What we got?
Well, actually, the one pick Jack wanted me to give out is for Sunday. So I'm going to listen to my producer, Jack, because Jack is smarter. Jack is smarter than me. Jack knows best. We're going to give out the Falcons 49ers over 45.5. I'll be honest. I really like this pick. I think the Niners might score 40 on their own. So the Falcons only need to get a touchdown to maybe get this across the finish line. So over 45.5, Falcons, Niners. Go ahead, read about it on Pickswise. Pickswise.
Read about it.
Pickswise.
Tell me about it. Read about it. All right, your best bet. Who do you got?
It's kind of funny. We love betting hockey games, don't we?
I'm leaning into it hard. I love it.
We're calling it, instead of kick picks, how about we call it stick picks? We got two.
So lame. It's so lame.
That was a double snort. I'm back, baby. The jokes are back. All right, we're going with the Stars, the Dallas Stars, on the three-way money line. We love the three-way money line. So we were on the Dallas Stars the other night, if you recall, against the St. Louis Blues. I gave you this lengthy handicap why the St. Louis Blues had all these players missing because of injuries and COVID. Jordan Binnington, their goalie, out.
Got crushed.
And the Blues kicked the crap out of them 4-1. So what are we going to do? We're going back to the well with the Dallas Stars tonight. So this line makes no sense. The Stars have won the Stars have lost 4 in a row. The Blues have won 4 or 5. They've got all the momentum in the world, even without. I think their entire third and fourth line, like centers and wingers, are all out. Like they literally have 2 lines, and that's it. The third and fourth lines for St. Louis are all out, and Jordan Binnington. But despite that, we're seeing this line move in Dallas's direction, even though that the Stars have been ice cold and Blues have been red hot. So it's got to be because of the player movement. I'm going to trust the line movement here. Also, I think Alexander Radulov might be coming back for the Stars tonight. He was close to returning on Tuesday. He didn't. He might come back tonight. Keep an eye on it. But I think that'll tilt the line even more in favor of Dallas. And how about this price? 3-way money line plus 170 for the Dallas Stars tonight.
Love that for you.
Big plus money price. So we're going with Dallas. Don't let us down 2 times in a row, or else you're getting kicked to the curb.
Come on, Stars. Shine bright tonight. Shine bright. Okay, this pick is for our producer, Jack, because he is the biggest Rangers fan that I've ever met in my life. And I bet against the Rangers the last couple of games and won those bets. So now I'm putting my good luck charm on the New York Rangers tonight. They're taking on VGK, Vegas Golden Knights, at home at MSG, plus 114 for the Rangers money line. They are the underdogs. Interconference battle on the ice at home in one of the most famous barns in the entire world, right?
The most famous, the Mecca.
Yeah, the Mecca.
It's the Mecca of basketball, but I think it bleeds over to hockey too.
Oh, 1,000%. It's MSG. Come on out. Vegas is playing in the second game of a back-to-back. They played the Devils last night. They won against the Bruins on Tuesday. So this is their third game in 4 days. Same with the Rangers. They won at Arizona on Wednesday for a second game in the back-to-back. They obviously played the Avs on Tuesday. I think it was the Avs crushed them in that day. So this is also their third game in 4 days, but they do have one extra night of rest, right? Last night they didn't play. Fatigue can be a major factor for me in this one. I think if anything, the Rangers get the slight rest advantage. Thursday night off. Vegas had at least a short trip after facing the Devils last night. Rangers 6th in the league in goals against per game, 2.5. Need a good team defensive game against VGK and their heavy hitters like Stone, Pacioretty to be able to come out on top of this one. But give me home ice, give me a night of rest, and give me the Rangers money line because I feel really good about New York in this one. Plus
give me liberty or give me death.
Yeah, give me liberty. Give me death. Give me Rangers.
I don't mind it.
Or give me
I'm never going to get mad when you pick the Rangers. Even if I'm against your pick, like sharp money-wise, I'm never going to be mad at you when you pick the Rangers. Because if Jack's the number one Rangers fan in this group chat, in this little, reality we call LBI, then I'm number 2. So
okay, cool. And tonight I'm number 3. So you know what? All of us on the same side. You love
Woo!
to see it.
Go Rags.
That's it for us today. Find us on the Pickswise YouTube channel. Go to pickswise.com. We'll be back with you tomorrow morning. Enjoy the bowl games today. Enjoy the Bahama breeze, the Bahama winds, the game. Go Toledo, go under. So looking forward to it. All right. More bowl games tomorrow. We'll be back with you 10 a.m. Eastern time. Thanks so much, guys. Best of luck tonight. Let's get it. Let's bet it.